Why did Himura Kenshin use a Sakabattou in order to preserve life, as opposed to simply an iaito, a blunt sword, or a bokken, a wooden sword? Well, if we want to think about it in realistic terms, taking aside that, you shouldn't be carrying a steel sword around in the Meiji era anyway, you still want to consider that a wooden sword would get chewed up by other steel weaponry. And there's also the fact that an iaito has no edge at all. So if it comes down to it, you could use this edged implement as some sort of tool, as blasphemous as that may be. However, the real thing to consider is the storytelling and fantasy of the series. Rurouni Kenshin, while it tries to maintain an era of realisticness to it, it still falls into a lot of anime tropes. A big one being the idea of the samurai quick draw. The quick draw, or the battle jutsu, is really where the idea of a reverse edge sword starts to make the most sense, in addition to wanting to have an edge for non-combat reasons, or versus, a wooden sword that, will get chewed up and eventually break versus steel weapons. The idea being that when you're striking as part of the draw, it's all in one motion, right? And when you're doing that, you only have to worry about striking the opponent with the blunt end of the sword. And so that's really where the fantasy and the realism all come together. Does it make more sense to use just a blunt sword or a wooden sword? In some senses, yes, but also there is a character that only uses wooden swords in that series, Kamiyakaru. Now, the last and most important thing to consider when talking about the quote-unquote realism of using this sword or reverse edge is the storytelling, the drama. The whole idea of Rurouni Kenshin, Kenshin Himura, wanting to preserve life instead of take life with the sword, has reversed the edge on his sword, so now it faces him instead of his opponent. In addition, there's also a lot of room for drama when, his PTSD is triggered, in which he then turns the edge on his opponent. So that's really what it just comes down to. It's storytelling. It's drama. That's all it is.